17 points. Now, Coach Tavolieri did score his 5,000th career point in the Dynasty, so that's some good news right there for Coach Tavolieri, right?
Just a great win by our new rookie manager, Jay Young, in his yellow apparel. Definitely a possible sleeper pick for this year.
Well, yeah, the Heritage Park Hunters next game took on Brutal Deluxe. Arian Foster, wow, yes,
Woo boy!
115 rushing yards and a touchdown, 119 receiving yards and a touchdown.
Woo!
It was good for 40 goddamn points, which was second amongst all the players. Coach McDowell also had great games from Plexico Burris, Ben Roethlisnatcher, and Brutal scored 142 points this week, which led the league. Meanwhile, the Hunters' 4-game win streak is snapped. But like Soul Glow, Coach Stacy also scored their 5,000th all-time point in the Dynasty. The next game, the Hong Kong Cavs versus the Iron Dogs. Well, John, everyone, including myself. Oh boy.
Oh God, no! Please go on.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Everyone, including myself, wrote this game off as an easy victory for the Cavs.
Sure.
But as a wise man once said, that's why they play the games. In one of the biggest upsets that I can remember, the Iron Dogs knocked off Coach Whiffen with a score of 63-51, giving the co-managing guards their first win as a duo. John, do you care to chime in on what you think about this?
Well, hey, what can I say? What goes around comes around. You know, when you are just a walking sack of human shit, you know, you get what you deserve. That's all I can say. Okay, that's all I can say. It was Are
you referring to Iron Dog's logo or Coach Whiffen in general?
You can take what I say however you want, but I will say this lastly. It was a classless loss by a classless organization.
There it is. The final game last week were the Amber Alerts versus the Rockdalian Senators. John, I'll let you speak to this one.
Thanks. Thank you. Well, basically, it was pretty much a pathetic win by my team, but what matters is that I won.
Yes, Coach, you did win. It was a 1-point win, and I don't think you stayed up for that Monday night game, did you?
God, no.
Okay. Well, I actually did, and it was one of the worst games I've ever seen, the Ravens versus the Jaguars, and all you need is really 2 points for the win, and you had Ed Dixon, the tight end for the Ravens, and the kicker for the Ravens, Billy Cundiff, and they didn't score anything at all up until the fourth quarter. It looked like Coach Will was going to actually win this thing, but in the final drive of the game, my Aquan Bolden scored a touchdown, so you're welcome. And that made Billy Cundiff come in for the extra point win. Well, now we're going to look at the standings. Looking at the North Riverdale Division, you got yourselves the Riverdale Scoopers at 6-1 at the top of the division.
Not for long.
Well, you know.
Next team, not for long. Go ahead.
Okay, the next team is the Amber Alerts.
You got that right.
5-2. They get the most points scored in the division. Right behind you, Coach, is the Heritage Park Hunters.
Solid team.
Handy Quacks.
Okay.
And Yellow Peril.
Sure. All
at 4-3, right behind really the both of us.
Right in the thick of it.
And then, even though they did get their first win, you got the Guards there at 1-6 at the bottom of the division. And then in the South Riverdale Division, it's back to a 3-way tie.
This is amazing.
Amazing. Bubba Gump Shrimp, Brutal Deluxe, and Hong Kong all at 4-3. Bubba Gump does lead the league in points at 831. But right behind them is Negroes and Soul Glow at 3-4. With Coach Will's Rockdalian Senators still trying to get that first victory there. They're
Eric,
0-7.
I don't even think he's trying to get that win. I mean, that interview was more than clear that it's all about 2012 for him, and good for him. It'll be the real test for Will and his Senators is next year. Can he actually make something happen for once in his pathetic fucking life?
And now looking at the Pick'em standings,
I haven't even looked at the standings yet. Wow. See, I've been doing good the last few weeks, but I've still been standing kind of towards the bottom, and I didn't do shit. Oh man.
Yeah, it looks like you got 2 correct last week.
Yeah.
That's not going to do that well for you.
Well, I blame Whiffen for that one. Right?
Not sure how Whiffen had anything to do with your failures at the Pick'em stand.
I picked Matt Whiffen's team because I expected him to beat the worst team in the league, and he lost to the worst team in the league.
Well, fair enough. Coach Jay Young still at the top of the Pick'em standings with 31 points.
He's a numbers guy. I don't know how he does it. He's got some kind of weird algorithm burned into his brain. I don't know.
It's got to be something like that.
Yeah.
Him, Brutal, and Negroes, and myself actually all had 4 correct last week. We led the league last week in Pick'em votes. Jay Young's still there at the top. No one's catching up. Brutal and Negroes are at 27, so about 4 points behind him. So we're all just trying to catch up to the Asian sensation.
The Power Rankings. Hey, who's number 1? Hey, who's sucking ass? The Dynasty Power Rankings.
The Power Rankings article this week was written by myself, and the picture is a picture of myself with team captain Michael Vick, as we are very happy that we are sitting at 6-1, and we're shocking the world, John. We're shocking the world.
Not really. Well,
you're right. No, you're right. You're right. You're right. No, everyone expected me to do well.
It's a bad shock, though. It's not like a good shock. It's like when you go into shock after like an awful car accident or like a Zeppelin explosion or something like that. It's like you go into shock.
What about?
It's so bad.
Or it could be that time that Will stuck his finger up my asshole. That was like a shock at the draft.
Sure, for you, that's probably a good shock. So that's a good example for you. For me and everybody else, that's a bad shock.
Well, nonetheless, we got a new number 1 team. 4 of 5 first place votes. John, I believe you voted.
I had no choice. You're the only 6-1 team, and I couldn't vote for myself after winning to Will by 1 point. So. Well,
there it is. Yeah, Scooper's number 1 ranked team. Number 2, yourself, Amber Alerts. You were second last week. You remain there at second. The Bubblegum Shrimp Corporation, they were in first place there for 1 week, and then they lost, so getting bumped down to third. Fourth is the Heritage Park Hunters. They also suffered a loss, but they're still there, clinging to the top 4 spots. Number 5 is the Brutal Deluxe. They went up from the 7th spot. Staying at 6th is Handy Quacks. At 7th is Yellow Peril. At 8th, Hong Kong Cavs. They went all the way from 5th down to 8th with that bad loss to the Guards. That was not an official sound effect, just so everyone knows. That actually came out of the mouth of John. So thank you for the sound effects, John.
You're welcome. I'm like the guy from Police Academy.
9 was Negroes. He stays there at 9th. Soul Glow stays at 10th. In 11th, the Iron Dogs. They get out of the cellar there with their first victory, and still now back to being in last place. Coach DeYoung's Rockdalian Senators.
Now, let's take a look into the future with next week's matchups.
Now, Week 8 marks the official first game of the second half of the regular season. Amazing that we're already at this spot, John.
And how?
The game of the week, the Jumbo Donuts game of the week.
Don't forget to do the thing with the stuff.
I don't want to get. We don't want to get sued.
You don't want to get sued.
One of these years, it's gonna happen. Game of the week: the 4-3 Brutal Deluxe up against the 4-3 Handy Quacks. Now, this is a pair of 4-3 teams right in the thick of things. Brutal's got that number 1 rushing attack, but Handy's will likely be the slight favorite. He's got some favorable matchups. And Coach McDowell will be dealing with Des Bryant and Jermichael Finley on bye weeks. John, how do you think this will play itself out?
I really have no clue who's going to win that game because it's the NFL and it's fantasy football. However, I voted personally for this to be the game of the week, mainly just because it's going to be a slobber knocker, number one, and it's gonna